still your Steelers stuff? I see the shoelaces.
I'm just taking it in, over here, listening, just.
How you guys doing? You're in the trenches. You're doing the day-to-day.
I think it depends on where you're at, to be really honest. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I speak for every teacher in the district. I can say for me personally, things are going very well. And I know some of my colleagues are going very well. My kids are Zooming in. Today I had 98% attendance. They took their exam last week. They're communicating with me over the weekend. I feel my wife said I'm like a doctor because my phone buzzes when I get either a Canvas message or an email, and I respond to it, and it's going very well. On the other hand, I know that some they're hurting right now. I've had elementary people reach out to me that there's issues with technology, which has been established here already, and the reality is they're looking for ways to try to mitigate some of the pain that they're feeling, especially for the younger kids. I was at the gym working out the other day and I had a parent come up to me and says, I'm struggling, man. He's like, my second grader and I have to be together trying to do this. And I got to work, I've got to do this. And they honestly said, I'm not equipped to be a teacher and do the things that you guys, do. So I think every educator in this district, every person is experiencing a lot of different things. And I think some are going better than others. I mean, the hope is that, we'll be able to get that plane built to a point where it can fly much better than it might be flying now. But it's not because people, I don't think, are trying not to get the plane built. It's just, we're doing things that there's been said we've never done them before. But hopefully, as we move, starting tomorrow, I'm looking forward to the phase 2 meeting. I think it's important that we get our kids back in the building. And that's, I think, something that we have to do, especially the younger kids who I think need that interaction with their teachers and to do it the right way, do it safely and productively. And I'm encouraged by what Dr. Graham has said today, and especially about the sports piece. I think that's a step. That's another question that I get asked frequently wherever I go. At a guy, I'm out working in my yard, stop me and ask me, are we having basketball this year? I said, I don't know, but the hope is that we will. So I'm encouraged by what Dr. Graham has mentioned in regards to that. So I think from my perspective, there's some optimism that we can get this done and we're moving in the right direction. At least I hope so. So is that good? You want to keep going? I can keep going if you want to ask me. You want to ask about the Steelers? We can talk about Big Ben. I mean, we can keep going.
Well, I have missed the voice of Lorain Athletics. So, I mean, if you want to keep going.
It's funny that you say that because I had a couple people say, man, I had one person that lives near George Daniel and they said, it really hurt the first couple Friday nights. Those lights weren't on. I didn't hear the band playing and I didn't hear your voice. and that really, I didn't realize that people in the community, I mean, I know that it's kind of important, but when you hear it and the person like teared up and when they're saying, I never realized because they live close enough where they can hear all those and it's not the same without us being there. And I think our community not having those components of the band and the sports and all those are things that we're missing. And I think the sooner that we can get back to that level of investment in the community, I think it's important. It really is.
Well, Steve, I think you said something huge, like the place where we want our students.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely here in the building.
Yeah.
We want them involved in all the things that they've been accustomed to be involved in. And we want to enhance that because we're also learning that there's a lot of different ways of engaging students right now too. So, we have to keep that focus. The focus is absolutely bringing students and staff back in a safe manner and making sure that we're as informed as possible. I think that's what we all want. That's what we all need. And I mean, and there's various stories that keep coming out every single day about, the risk factors and where it's going well here and where it may not be going well here. So to one of the slides and one of Ross's point, I'm sorry to kind of jump back in. We do have to design thinking that everybody is COVID positive, but at the same time, at the essence of everything that we do, though, we don't want to put our community at risk further because this is real. So I think there's this balancing act, and
it's like juggling knives without getting cut.
Yeah, and I heard from teachers, and to your point, Some are having some success, others are struggling. The same thing with families. We're trying to help as best as we can. We're listening to ideas, adapting those ideas where practical and applicable. And here's the frustrating part, and let's just be honest about it. All ideas, it's hard to put all ideas into action at the same time. There's various things that we have to weigh in order to reach decision. But this process, as we indicated, is how we do it. Not only here, but all the meetings behind the scenes. And to me, the magnifying glass that we'll put on things, this is how we operate as a school district, as a community moving forward. We're gonna be better. We've got to get the pandemic under control. We are still in a pandemic. And collectively, we all have to continue to talk about masks, talk about sanitizing, talk about social distancing, talk about being responsible with our choices, right? That's another piece, but you're right. Yeah, hearing all those things, we want our students back in school. I apologize for taking it.
No, you were right. You're spot on, because I would only add, because I do hear a lot from the public as well. And it's kind of and I'll just go on record. Sports is very important to me. Athletics, I was an athlete, I did it, and I know how important it is. But there's 6,000 other kids that we have to worry about in this district and how they get along safe. And not once have I had anybody walk up to me and say, we really need to get those biology labs open back up, but we keep talking about, what the sports are going to be leading the conversation. And the biggest conversation is, how do we get all of our students back into their class, and how do we do it safe for our entire community? And I need the community as a whole to understand that those things are very, very near and dear to everyone, and getting everyone to the other side safely. So that's my 2 cents, guys.
Can I just say quickly too that the teachers are working extra hard. While I've been here, most know I have kids in many different grades, and
all 12 of them.
right. And I've got, I think, 3 or 4 dojos since I've been here tonight for this meeting. So they're still working. They're still working at 5, 6. One just came through just right now at 6 o'clock at night. I'm still getting dojo messages. I'm getting them at 8 o'clock in the morning that they're still, or when my younger girls are on break, I'm getting messages. So they're not taking a break when they're those 10 minutes, 15-minute breaks for my younger girls. That's when I'm getting dojo messages from the teachers saying, hey, can you check and see if this link worked in their Google Classroom? So when they go in to do it, can you go check on her laptop and see if it's working? So they're working extra hard now than they would have worked. Not saying that they weren't working hard in the classroom, but they're working double, I would say, now to make this work.
We do have some issues. We're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I
Right.
can assure you it's not from lack of effort from our staff. They have
Exactly.
been outstanding. And again, and I made this comment at the last board meeting, we also have to put in perspective that no one is doing a job that's consistent with their job description.
No.
But everyone is saying, just tell me what needs to be done and we'll get it done, because they know our kids need them. So again, I've just been floored by how incredible our staff has been throughout this process.
Yeah, it's interesting because not that we talk about it a lot, but I've had some concern. I know in my own world, the fact that we have this Zoom technology, whereas normally I might have 3 or 4 meetings in a day, I've got 8 meetings in a day. Meetings scheduled at the same time, where I have to leave one Zoom call because the other one starts. So I think we have to also be cautious that in everyone's desire to try and support everyone, that they're working too much. I think the wonderful thing about working in a non-structured environment, especially if you're diligent, means you can work anytime and all the time. And I think people are doing more all the time work. They're not taking time for their families, for themselves. And so in our desire and effort to do really good, we can do a lot of harm. So again, there's a balance that has to be there. And we want our kids to have everything they need. And so teachers are caregivers, and that's what they seem to intuitively, instinctively do. But those folks usually have difficulty with those barriers. And as we keep pushing them, encouraging them, everything but mandating them, at some stage we got to step back and say, okay, are we even assessing workload? I mean, I think that's another part of that survey for our staff is how much time are you working, and when are you working? Are you working at 10 o'clock at night? Are you working at 3 o'clock in the morning? Because if we see some patterns, those things are unhealthy, And you can do the unhealthy thing for a period of time. But if you do that for too long, then there's going to be some consequence. So I think we have to be really careful to how do we monitor those things, and what do they mean from a health perspective? What do they mean from a burnout perspective? So as our teachers are giving, and I know we have psychologists here for our students, but I think that's another thing that we have to really look at is what kind of care are we providing for the emotional support for our caregivers. So, but kudos to all of those doing all that work, but please take care of yourselves. And for family members, make sure when your family member is that teacher going way above and beyond, that you help to kind of bring them back into healthy lifestyle. So, but thank you for all those folks doing the work.
Other comments?
Yeah.